What I want to show you tonight is the video I've put together to use in the classroom when we talk about this. I wanted my students to have that experience I had in Chicago that day. I wanted them to see Ella's face. I wanted them to hear her voice. I wanted them to hear from a person who was in the play what it meant to her to be in it. As you watch this 6 minutes, I want you to watch her face. You will see what it meant to the children. You'll see the sadness in her face when she talks about the lullaby. You'll see the joy in her face when she talks about the Victory March. And when she remembers it, I always tell them when we watch a film, watch the survivor's face. They're back, they're there. They're back in the place where they're telling us about. Okay, so this is my little film project for the curriculum that I'm building.
Our Tella, our teacher from our room, was a music teacher, and she introduced us really the first time to opera. And she started to sing with us. And we did sing a lot. We had a chorus and we sang in different languages. That time already in Terezin started a very cultural life because all the big artists from Germany, from Vienna, from Denmark, from Holland came. And this was the only European culture that developed in the wartime. And this was the music in Terezin. There was a lot of big composers that today their operas are performed. And one of them that is really the closest to me was Hans Grasa, that he was the composer of the children's opera Brundibar. So they came to our room to tell her, and they asked her if she has some children that they have good voices, if they would be able to sing. So she sent us. When we came to try out, you know, it was in an attic in the boys' school. So Rudy was standing in a little, like a tuner, and he would ask us to sing La La La. And somehow we were very nervous who will get a part or who will be in the opera. And when it came my turn, I was shivering, you know, what will happen. And he said, and you be the cat. A cat. Okay. We loved it. Every time that we had to come to rehearse and to learn another note, you know, we were all excited. We really cared for each other, the kids. And we would run, and we loved it. And especially the Brundibar was the role of Brundibar, what is like a bumblebee in Czech, but it wasn't a bumblebee, it was a mean man. It was very simple, you know, but it was really very beautiful. And there is also another song that makes me a little bit sad, and this is the lullaby in the song that we sang. And the end of the lullaby is, Mother, if you would see us today, we are growing, you know, we are grown up. The victory song of this children's opera was for us something so special. The victory song was that we overcame Hitler. And we sang that with such energy that the audience that time was only maybe 100 people in a room. They would stand and they would stamp their feet and clap, and we would repeat and repeat till somebody would say, "It's 8 o'clock, we have to get out." Music was part in our lives there. It was part of the resistance against the Germans. We couldn't fight differently, but we wanted to show them that we will one day win this war against them. Music really made us forget hunger, and made us forget all the troubles what we had that time. And I'm repeating it always when I speak about that. I said, that I always thought that the opera died with the children. But when I hear it here in the United States, singing it by children free, it will never die. Brundibar poražen, už jsme ho dostali, zavíšte na buben, válku jsme vyhráli. Vyhráli proto jen, že jsme se nebáli. The word meant that we overcame Brundibar, and the war is now over. And we are singing this song, what is a very nice song. And we won only because of that we were all together, and the fight finished such a way that we can now play in peace together. Something like that.
Wow. She says, one thing she always says, she said, we didn't have to wear the yellow stars. Even in Theresienstadt, we always had to wear the yellow star, but not when we were performing Brundibar. It was the only exception. For those moments, we were not branded with the yellow star, which meant for this brief, precious time, we were free. And I think the power of music and art, the kids talk about the times they were painting with Friedel Dicker Brandeis or singing in Brundibar, and it just made life possible for them. And I think that's true now. Our kids face things, and they face a scary world, and still, music and art can help them figure out ways to cope. It's so vitally important. And after we talk about this, we talk about the art classes they're taking and the music classes they're taking and what they mean to them. And I wish you could read some of the papers that the kids write about being in the choir or being in an art class where the art teacher says, draw what you feel, draw what you imagine, and they get to do that. And it's just so important, and it's something we need to protect. What we always must remember, and what I always tell my students, they want to come in, they say, Hitler this, Hitler that. And this is not the story of one monstrous person who did horrible things and now is gone. If it was just that, we could forget about it. But so many people just like us, participated in so many ways. So many went along to get along. So many made it possible. It was a time when ordinary people participated in extraordinary evil. But it was also a time of extraordinary strength and generosity. It was a time when an art teacher gave all she had to her students. It was a time when exhausted, hungry adults worked with the children night after working hard all day to put on an opera that was performed in an attic. It was performed 55 times, by the way, to a packed house every time. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say about that film. You saw the archival film? After the visit of the Red Cross was so successful, the Nazis decided to make a propaganda film. And they made one of the prisoners, Kurt Geron, he was the director and put it together, and it just showed what a wonderful place Terezin was. But it wasn't finished until the war was almost over, so all but 20 minutes of it were destroyed. It was never used. But that's what that is. 20 minutes of it survives, and those pieces were from that. But it was also a time when a Nazi guard risked her life by watching out for the prisoners in her charge under the eyes of her Nazi bosses. You know, it's an ongoing struggle to be good, to be humane, to pay attention to our fellow human beings. The lessons of the Holocaust continue to be relevant and compelling as we move into the 21st century and beyond. It was our worst time. It was our best time. It must never be forgotten. At the beginning of this talk tonight, I mentioned the verse from Isaiah, "You are my witnesses." And I said those words were carved in the limestone walls of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. And by hearing the words of the survivors, by seeing their faces, we become witnesses. Witnesses are more than passive bystanders. They're more than people who sit in an audience. They're people who tell others what has happened and what it means. My wish is that we all join to heal the world. Tikkun Olam, the Jewish saying, heal the world. We can be inspired and we can inspire one another to do more in our own lives, to never become indifferent, and to work for a more aware, humane, and kinder world. And that's it.